Breath is a book about pausing, slowing things down. It's a book that takes the extraordinary, powerful poetry of Paul Celan, and I want to construct a book where Celan's feeling for the weight of words and Celan's feeling for the colour white come together. Celan always writes about white very beautifully, and it's a very tragic colour for him. Many of his poems, white is a very difficult colour for him. But also, as he gets older, his poetry gets more and more spare. The poems get more and more fragmented, and there's more and more white page around the words. So I'm thinking of this book, and I'm thinking about white, and I'm thinking about Celan, and then I'm thinking about my life as a potter working with porcelain. And so what I try and do is bring the whiteness of the page, the whiteness of Celan's poetry, and my life with porcelain all together into one book. In the rivers north of the future, I cast the net, but you hesitantly wait. Your shadows, stones, wrote. There are two beautiful materials in the world that travel the world, and they're paper and porcelain. And they both begin in China and Japan, and then they come along the Silk Road and they're reinvented. So when I was choosing the paper, I thought, how beautiful would it be to use paper from the Far East, paper from Germany, and paper from the UK. Just by turning that page, you've got that story of, east to west. This is a book about how books live. Books are always a return to other books. They use texts that have been used before and language that's been used before, but they also use materials that have been used before. And so I bought these incredibly beautiful fragments, and then they've been reused within this whole binding. So in fact, that is a 13th or 14th century bit of illuminated manuscript. You don't need to know it's there, but it's there. I'm reusing these objects to make a new book, which were already being reused. So it's a beautiful idea. The poet Paul Celan gave a lecture in Darmstadt, 1960. He had won a prize. He rarely wrote prose, rarely gave lectures. There are only 2 interviews. A response to a request is 5 lines long. His lecture is hard and hesitant. It keeps trying to start. His first sentence begins with a word and a pause. So here immediately, the question is whether, we use the kaolin across this to slow this down even more immediately, because it's all about trying to start. The book contains his words, it contains my words, and it contains beautiful white spaces, empty pages, pages brushed with porcelain slip, all kinds of different silence within one book. In the book, I really wanted to have Celan's poems both in German and in English, so that you had these 2 languages talking. So that's part of the sense of one language on top of another, or next to it. And then to deepen that feeling, I've chosen to use porcelain slip, liquid porcelain, and to brush it over certain passages of Celan's poems and then rewrite them on top, or scratch out his poems, write them in pencil, and then put porcelain slip across the top. I think I just want across both, both the German and the English. Yeah, that's it, beautiful. and then here just over the doubleness there. Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. I would love some gold here. That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that gives the aura to the words. The hourglass deep in peony shadow buried, when thinking comes down the Pentecost lane, finally it inherits the empire where you mired death the wind. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's really beautiful.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I'm doing in all that is layering. I'm layering one language on top of another, one translation on top of another, one material on top of the language and revealing it again. So what I'm doing is actually making a palimpsest. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because that's what poetry does. While I was creating the book, it seemed to me that there was one more level of resonance, one more level of echo. So the idea is that here we have Celan, and I wanted not only the book, but to make an installation that went alongside the book, so that there was this sort of concrete a manifestation of the book in a different form, creating this poem again in porcelain. Here it is. You can actually feel the words. These are the words inscribed into porcelain. They sit on the shelf and overlap each other. So in some ways you've got an echo of a book, in porcelain. You've got the book, you've got the installation, and they sit near each other. They sit next to each other and they talk to each other. Every page is beautiful. Every page is beautiful.
And every page is different.
Yeah, yeah.
See this? Perhaps here, it writes of the moment between breathing out and breathing in.
Yeah.
It's just enough.
It's
the power of space, word, and sentence together.
Look at this. It's just.
It's an sculpture in a space where the material and the content are the words. And you create a sculpture. Yeah. This is a sculpture itself. It's beautiful. That I imagine Celan when he was writing his poems and his thoughts, write and rewrite. Like you are doing here.
Yeah. Lightness and then heaviness and then space and pause, and then you have another poem. So it really, really genuinely works. You see you breathe out and you breathe in, and then here you are again. That is this consolation, someone walking part of the way by your side. That means almost everything. Everything. And this is Celan again. So this is one on top of another, so it's like a book. Like all good projects, there are moments of total despair. That's the reality. The best projects, at some point you think, is it going to work? Is this dream of bringing, my favorite poems in the world together with an incredible printer and an amazing binder and these materials I love, porcelain and gold, and is it going to work? And you fear for your idea, you fear for the project. And just today, with the books in the studio and opening it and that exhilaration, that incredible moment of being in the book and seeing the porcelain on the page and seeing the gold glinting away and the mark making and the rewriting, and you think, damn it, it's worked, it's actually going to work. you know, it's really going to work.